Hi, and welcome to a short introduction to Blackboard Collaborate. My name's Morgan Reed. I work in the Faculty of Land and Food Systems here at the University of British Columbia in the Learning Center. Blackboard Collaborate is kind of a webinar or web conferencing system, and it can be used from within the Connect learning management system here on campus so that you restrict access to students who are in your course, or you can use it outside of the learning management system, kind of as a standalone room. You'd get a URL, like that one, and that will give you access to a password-protected host site, which is your access being password protected, that is, so that you can control what you're doing with that room. You'll get a schedule, and you can adjust the schedule of when that room exists, and I set it for as many months as it allows me to, and it opens up as a Java file. Depending on your browser's configuration, you may need to open and download that Java file. And once Connect gets running using Java, once Collaborate, gets running using Java, click your way through a couple of dialog boxes, and you'll be able to connect with anybody who you invite, regardless of whether they have a campus-wide login. So this is the version that stands alone outside CWL. The advantage to that is that you can have guest speakers, or students, professionals joining your web conference who may not be right on campus or registered in a course. The first thing I did was stop the recording, which is the little option that popped up a second ago. I'm not planning on recording this session, but I would like to give you a little tour of how Collaborate works. The first thing I'm going to do is pretend that I have other people joining me soon, so I'd like to invite them by going under Tools and Invite Participants. So I'm going to break up this demonstration into a couple of parts, and one of them is, getting people to join you. And since we're not going through a course, you can use this dialog to get a link that you can then paste into an email, and anybody who clicks that link will get a guest access to this room, as we call it. And they won't need a password. They can come in and under any name they like. So it's a good idea to send that email to only people that you want to come and join it. So it is open as long as they have that link. Once people are in, they're going to see a blank page unless you open something or place something. There's a few different formats that you can place onto that whiteboard space. And I'm going to open a pre-made whiteboard file. That was just saved out of Collaborate, by the way. So some time ago I loaded a PDF, and then I decided to go save whiteboard, and it saved this as a whiteboard file. It's just a way of placing something up there. You can also put other kinds of files, and you can use the interface tools along here to draw or make marks and shapes of various kinds, including inserting text and pictures, and even capturing screenshots and placing them on this interactive whiteboard. I'll go through the application's interface a little bit. I mentioned sending emails to invite people to your Collaborate conference or meeting, and when they click on that and enter a name, they will show up down here in the participants list under your own name. You have moderator abilities, which allow you to control quite a few things, and I'm showing you this view, my own moderator view, so that we can have an overview of the tools and menus. Just to continue our little interface tour, this participants list will show people's names, whatever name they've typed in, when they come and join the Collaborate meeting. Up here in the top left, you can activate your sound and video. It's quite common to run multi-person conversations in a Collaborate meeting. I am going to click and leave on my microphone, but then I realize I would like other people to be able to talk too. Maybe they want to put their microphone on. So I'm going to look in here, and see what my settings are for audio. And the default, strangely enough, is to allow one maximum speaker, but I have another couple of people coming in, and I'd like a couple of people to talk at the same time, so I'm going to set that to 3. Now anybody who comes in can also click their microphone on and say, "Hello Morgan, are you there?" And I can speak freely, yes. If I need to mute my microphone, I can just toggle it off and not they won't be able to hear me for a second. It's also possible to send text in case you're setting something up. Let people know that that's there. Speaking of letting people know what's there, it's a really good idea to access some of the more useful Collaborate resources. And those Collaborate resources are available on the University of BC's e-learning page. And there are introductions of various kinds on that URL. And perhaps we want to paste in the URL up here as well on the whiteboard. And if I were to click on that, as I just did, it's going to drive my browser to that URL. It's also possible to take your participants to a URL and they will be brought to the same place on kind of a web tour. So you'll notice I click this up here from Whiteboard, which is where images and text and that sort of thing are placed. And I changed over to the web tour, and pasting the URL would send that user's browser to this URL. And you can say, folks, okay, go to that URL and bookmark it and then come back here, please. And they would rejoin your session. So there's a couple of ways of sending a URL. This one that I've pasted here is a resource page for using Collaborate. So we've used the text input for a couple of things. We've looked a little bit about this participants list, and we see a video button as well as the talk button up here. The video button doesn't really give you a heck of a big video, but it is possible to speak to people and show them your face and say hello. Definitely a couple of things to consider when using video. It uses a bit of bandwidth. It lags a bit. It might be a bit choppy. And you'll need some lighting that will compensate for the environment and backlighting. So as you see, I've got almost the worst setup here with backlighting behind me, but a little bit of lighting around here helps quite a bit. So it's important that if you are using video, that your lighting is really good, because a little bit of choppiness or a little bit of static in audio is forgivable, but really bad video or even slightly bad video is really hard to watch, which is one of the reasons why I often recommend clicking the video off unless you really need it. Sure, it's nice for people to see your face, but if they see your face a little bit now and then leave it off, they will associate your voice very much with you anyway. So it's fine to leave the video off or on, depending on what your preferences are. You can also provide others with the ability to use their video as well as audio. There's a couple of tools that I'd like to look at here on the menu as well. Just generally, it's possible to load a couple of different kinds of materials to present to students, including sets of whiteboard pages. And it's also possible to save some of this stuff out too. You can share files back and forth, and there are a couple of multimedia formats that Collaborate will allow you to share as well. Loading those files gives you the opportunity then to present them and share them to others. This is an overview, so I won't go into detailed procedures with that, but those support documents are very much available. The really useful menu here is the Tools menu. We did have a quick look earlier at the audio tools. Most important and first off tool to know how to use is to make sure that you set the maximum simultaneous talkers if you want anybody else to be able to hear. And you may want to record a session. Really handy to be able to use recordings if you want people to come back and view the recording later. So you may have a conversation or a guest speaker that not everybody can attend in real time. This recording can be really handy in that situation. You can start the recording anytime during a session, perhaps just when the guest speaker arrives, or perhaps right at the very beginning. And when that recording is finished, when you stop the recording, it gets saved. You get a link in your email, and you can share that link out to anybody who wasn't there. So you could post that link perhaps in your Connect course, or just email it to colleagues and students, anybody that you want to share it with, and they'd be able to see that recording later. There is some interaction stored in the recording as well, such as if you designed, say, a poll or a quiz. A poll. It's possible to set up quick polls from within the session. That's a way of gauging, similar to the way we use clickers or hands in a classroom. How many people think that that question was well answered? How many people think that that the answer is A or B or C? Not too hard to set up, and you can set those polls up and set up responses as well. Again, we're looking at the moderator or instructor's interface here. The other items to just look at fairly quickly here. You can create breakout rooms for students to go and have discussions among themselves. That's a fairly sophisticated level of student use as well, but in many cases, group activity in smaller areas gives students a chance to be moderators in their breakout room. They have a lot of control to create and put things up in their breakout rooms, and then they can come back and share them, and you're able to monitor any of those as needed. I'm going to leave the graphing calculator for your interest, if that's the sort of thing you're interested in. I find them to be a heck of a lot of fun and made a huge difference to my understanding of functions and relations. I would like to mention that your profile and those of others may be useful for people to see and access, and you may want to get into looking at your profile into your Blackboard preferences. In the past, and in cases where bandwidth is low, and I say in the past because even here on the university, it was often useful to have a telephone connection to supplement the webcast. The frame rate is often a little bit on the slow side for recordings, or if somebody's audio is lagging a little bit, they may not have a fast access to the internet. It might be fast enough for them to see the whiteboard, but audio over the internet can be choppy sometimes. That's improved a lot in recent years, but if somebody is dialing in from somewhere, you can give them a 1-800 or a 604 number, depending on the university's configuration, and I'd suggest you talk to the UBC IT folks or the Center for Teaching and Learning with Technology if you want to connect up a 1-800 number or a 604 number for people to dial into. I'm not sure what the present status of that telephony access is, but I wanted to mention that it is there if you want to supplement. And occasionally I have meetings with people where we'll start on the telephone to make sure that they're hooked up okay. But once you've trained students to use the tools and come and join you on them, then the telephone becomes less necessary, and people can simply just use their computer speakers, especially when most people have broadband connections. I would like to mention one of the more powerful tools of Collaborate, and this is the application sharing window. Clicking on the application sharing window gives you the opportunity to select which application others can see. The current window in Safari is the one that's available when I click Share Application, and although what we're seeing is the Collaborate interface over here and this, the students will see whatever application you show to them. Now, going to this window in a browser is a lot like taking them on a web tour, except that they can see a lot more of what you're doing, in the sense that they're seeing your desktop view. It's even possible in application sharing to give people control over the mouse, and they can click around as they see fit. So if somebody says, well, why don't you click on that link over there, and you say which link, and you can actually give them control in the application sharing. So I don't have other people in right now, so I can't give control of applications to anybody, but if there were other people sharing, then they can receive control of those applications. Now that's one difference between a browser tour, a web tour, and application sharing. Another difference is that application sharing can share any application that you're looking at, and that means that it may not necessarily be a browser, but it could be something else that we're looking at. I am stopped application sharing. I just use the tools menu, and that's kind of important because you don't have the full interface once you've started sharing. Go back to collaborate and use the tools menu, and then you can go back to your whiteboard as a kind of a home base. By the way, it's handy to use on a PC the Alt Tab key, or on a Mac the Command Tab key, to switch between applications if you need to. For example, when I was taking that web tour or using the web browser in my application sharing, I wanted to go back to Collaborate, and I just used Command Tab to pop up the Applications ribbon and move back to Collaborate, and then get to the Tools window to stop or start sharing, to toggle sharing. I'd like to mention a little bit about student interaction and wrap it up from there. Interacting with students can include them putting up well, smileys. They can put up their hands. You will need to watch this participants pane really carefully, and as you can see, you can tear it off and expand it. So if you have a lot of participants, you want to watch them as carefully as you can. And experienced presenters tend to glance down at the participants pane frequently to see if there's anybody showing a hand up or anything like that. You can also ask a question, either verbally or in the chat window. Or even on the whiteboard if needed. This is useful in the whiteboard if you, for example, decided that you wanted to do something like a diagram and see if people are really getting what you're saying. It's not beautiful. And you could also type text in there, or just have more skill with the mouse than I do in a quick demonstration. But an example, really, you could type in the text or put it into your chat to say, what does A represent in this demographic transition curve? For example, not a great example. I don't think anybody will be overwhelmed by the awesome quality of that example, but you do get the sense of the ability to draw something interactively or make marks on a whiteboard. For example, where's the UBC logo? I could just say, where's the UBC logo? So I'm going to switch to that. Is this the UBC logo? Is that the UBC logo? Or is this the UBC logo? And you could, say A, B, or C, etc. I really find this whiteboard's getting cluttered up, so I would like to clean it up and maybe just get most of this stuff removed. So I can do a couple of things with the whiteboard, like clear it, or I can just select all. I can toggle selections. And reload as I see fit. So there's a few different ways of using the whiteboard, and I will leave the rest of them to imagination. And I think we've covered student participation list, the chat window, the audio-video window, ways to manipulate the arrangement of these. We've looked at the standard whiteboard tools. We've looked at application sharing in a browser example, but you could share any application, things like spreadsheet tools or proprietary software that you're demonstrating, and a web tour as well. I hope you've enjoyed this short introduction to Blackboard Collaborate, and it would be my pleasure to assist you any further if I were able to do so at your convenience. Have a fantastic day.